New Year, everyone. Welcome aboard to Donovan and Dino. Nick Camino in for Jimmy Donovan tonight. I'm Dave DeNatale. It is New Year's Eve. I feel like we could have done this show in 2013.
Oh, yeah.
We could have done this show in 2017.
You've done it before in those days.
I've done it, yes. And I know you have too.
Absolutely. Radio or TV.
Radio or
it's
TV.
Just same
it doesn't
thing.
matter.
It
doesn't matter.
It's amazing. Anytime you think you've seen it all, anytime you think that we've heard it all, done it all, the Browns rewrite the book on it. It's amazing to me that I was really surprised by the Dorsey move. I really was. He had almost become sort of like a folk hero in this town over a short period of time with the draft picks and some of the guys he got in trades and through free agency. And so to see him get fired after you fired the head coach after just one season, it's a mess. And unfortunately, we've gotten used to this.
We'll take your questions and your comments on Facebook Live here throughout the show and let you weigh in on this situation. Again, John Dorsey and the Browns, a mutual parting of the ways, but you use the term firing. It sounds like that a lot of the problem between John Dorsey and the Browns kind of materialized towards the end of the season. According to reports, Dorsey wanted to keep Freddie Kitchens, and ownership said, no, that's it. We got to go in a different direction. And it sounds like in the aftermath, John Dorsey was not comfortable with whatever structure there was going to be as far as who was going to be calling the shots on players and on this head coach hiring that they still have to do with maybe an expanded role for Paul DePodesta. Thanks, but no thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah, it sounds like they were, even if it was a firing, mutual parting of the ways, whatever you want to say, he's not here. Yeah. I think there was a meeting this morning. And at that meeting, they said, listen, we want to restructure the organization. We want to probably take away some of your power. You'll still be involved in player evaluation and things like that. But really, I think what they were gathering from head coaching candidates was, hey, if I come there, I want mega say. I want to be, I want to be heard on this. And I don't want someone above me. I don't want someone that is going to be, we can have a GM, but I'm going to have some of the say. And so the Haslams were probably gathering that. Mm-hmm. And they went to Dorsey and communicated that to him, and he said, well, I'm not going to do that. That's not. So that's where your firing or mutual parting of the ways happened, is where they said, listen, okay, well, this isn't going to work. We'll call it a mutual parting of the ways. And that's it. And it's just, again, it's more dysfunction. It's more change. And I've always said this, Dino, the more you continue to make changes and you have that revolving door of guys coming in and out, every time you do that, you take a step back. And so as much as they want to say, well, we've got talent on this roster and things like that, you continue to take a step back when you do this. And you had such high hopes going into this year. I don't think that'll be the case going forward. I don't care who's on the roster.
Right. Now, here's a question. I think it was Nicholas. I apologize if I had that, but I think it kind of leads us into this discussion. Wanting to know, what does this mean for Baker Mayfield's future in Cleveland, because he's lost an important safety net?
Well, that is the guy that drafted him.
Right.
I almost feel like it's sacrilegious to say this, but are we 100% stone locked in that Baker Mayfield is your franchise quarterback? I feel like he was anointed that maybe even too soon. You could call it a sophomore slump this year. Okay, we'll see what happens next year. We know he'll be the quarterback next year, but is he firmly 1,000% your franchise quarterback? I don't think we know the answer to that. And so when he lost Dorsey, the guy that drafted him, sure, I think that's a great question.
Right. Because that's the danger, and we've seen this time after time after time again with the Browns since they've been back in '99, but more recently here with the Haslams. When they bring in, whether it's Joe Banner and Michael Lombardi, or it's Ray Farmer, or it's Sashi Brown, or it's John Dorsey.
Listen to all these names.
I know. The problem is that new regime has no loyalty to the players that were picked by the last regime.
Bingo.
And so you always seem to get wholesale changes.
Well, and here's another worry. So what if you bring in this head coach and they say, well, we want Andrew Berry to be the GM? Mm-hmm. Well, now you have an old regime mixed with a new regime, and you've got this overlay. Mm-hmm. And you're right, there is no one that will claim maybe Baker as their own. Mm-hmm. So here, now what? Here we go again with this whole thing. That's a great point, Dino. And I always hate when a head coach can hire his own GM. We saw it was a disaster with Mangini and Kokinis.
Right.
We've seen
even when Butch Davis, when the Browns decided to give
he got more power.
The power of
he wanted
CEO
more power.
to Butch Davis.
Yeah.
They rooted out basically both Dwight Clark and Carmen Policy, and
then
Pete
things started
Pete Garcia became the guy who was his right-hand man for football personnel, and it became a disaster.
It did. And I thought that Butch Davis, since they've come back into the league, he has been their best coach.
Yes.
I mean, he might have done it with smoke and mirrors a little bit in that 2002 season, but they made it to the playoffs, and it was their only time they've been in the playoffs since the Browns have come back. I think coaching-wise, Butch Davis was terrific for this organization. When he wanted more power, that's when we started seeing things fall apart. And you have to have a structure. And all these teams have a structure that have done it over the course of it. You look at New England, you look at all these teams, even the Steelers, they never fire a head coach. They have a structure. The Browns have no structure, and it's why they're a mess right now.
We've seen the list of all these candidates the Browns are going to try to talk to, try to get permission to talk to.
We do a 3.5-minute sportscast on 3 News. I took about 25 minutes to go through all the names I'm talking to. It's crazy.
And you sit there and you try to find common denominators if you can, and it's okay. Well, we're going to look at the teams that are doing well this year: San Francisco, Baltimore, McDaniels, New England. There's really no rhyme or reason. It's just kind of like we're going to try to find the best unproven coordinator.
You think
guy.
It's like a hodgepodge of names, just
it is.
Yeah.
It is. It's a hodge. I mean, that's the thing. And then you have Mike McCarthy, who does have head coaching experience, as does Josh McDaniels, but he's got a Super Bowl win on his resume.
Has connections to Elliott Wolf, who's still technically here.
Right. Now, if the Browns come out and say, okay, Mike McCarthy, Elliott Wolf is going to be our combination, that might be the one thing that I think could kind of calm everybody down.
Agreed, because Wolf and him were together in Green Bay.
Yes.
That would be something. I think one interesting name to keep an eye on, and you mentioned DePodesta earlier.
Yes.
If they go with a guy like a Kevin Stefanski,
yes,
I think that will have the fingerprints of DePodesta all over it.
Yep.
And that's where I wonder, okay, if you're bringing in him, are we going back to the analytics world of things with the Sashi Brown? I mean, here we go. It's like we're back to square one.
Right. And I thought we were kind of done with.
So did I.
Not,
well, no,
yeah,
but like,
yeah, but I thought we were. Yeah, I thought we were kind of done doing that.
When Dorsey was here, I mean, it was kind of like, okay, they're going with these football guys.
Yeah.
You got football guys running the organization, not guys running around with calculators.
Right.
Well, here now we are. If we start going back to that, I mean, DePodesta is still here. Mm-hmm. So are we going back to that? It's unfortunate. It's like it's a revolving door, and we continue to see it.
Jared says the one constant in all this dysfunction has been ownership. They always seem to be lost at the helm. He's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
Here's my issue with that. He's not wrong. You're not wrong. I'm not wrong. Okay, the problem is the Haslams. You can't fire an owner.
No.
So what do you do? I mean, I'm thinking of another sport with an awful owner, the New York Knicks. I mean, people for the longest time with the New York Knicks, James Dolan, they've said you can't get rid of them.
Right.
So what do you do? I mean, that's the thing. And now, how attractive is this job? I mean, does McDaniels really want it? Does will a guy like Matt Rule, remember with Baylor, he said I'm not going there.
Right.
I mean, yes, it's one of 32. Yes, it's an NFL job, so it should be prestigious. But how attractive is this job when you've got this continuous revolving door?
Yeah. People have asked a lot about Urban Meyer because he's not coaching right now. I just did a national radio interview today, and somebody asked me about Urban Meyer, and here's the problem. I mean, I think the Browns could certainly pay a guy like Urban Meyer what he would want to be here, and they've kind of already started to blow out the front office, so they could set up almost any structure for a guy like Urban Meyer to be here that they would want. I just don't know if Urban Meyer is going to want to work for owners that have had, how shall we say, trigger fingers that have been itchy.
Yep.
And I think Urban's also a guy that cares about his legacy. Like Nick Saban, nobody really remembers that he had, the 2 years in Miami
anymore.
that were so-so. I mean, nobody really, if you think about Steve Spurrier, nobody remembers that he had the one bad year or whatever in Washington. But
you think about him at Florida.
You think about him at Florida and the old ball coach.
Yeah.
But I think Urban cares, and I think the thought of him coming, and I don't know about his health, that's the other thing, but I think his legacy is important to him. And I think coming to somewhere where, I mean, you have no idea what you're getting into.
No,
I don't know if he wants to do that.
No, I'm with you. I think if Urban Meyer was to go to the NFL, he would go to a place that seems to have a little bit more stability, a little bit more ready to win, a la like the Dallas Cowboys. I think that with the Cowboys, you go there, he's got pieces in place already. They appear to be more ready to win right now. You know what Jerry Jones thinks can always be crazy, but Ezekiel Elliott's there. There's guys, I think there's certain jobs that are better for certain people. And if Urban was to go to the NFL, I feel like a Cowboys stint would be more realistic than a Browns stint where it's just, it's a debacle right now.
When you think about the tenure of John Dorsey, and our guy Ben Axelrod wrote three reasons why John Dorsey's tenure came to an end. Certainly the Freddie Kitchens hire. It has to be on him.
It's on there.
The Browns didn't fire Hugh Jackson at the end of the 2017 season. They let him come back in 2018, then made the change halfway.
The Kitchens, for sure.
And gave, basically, they could have had anybody they wanted at that time last year, and they thought Freddie Kitchens and Baker Mayfield, that's the combination we want. It didn't work out. But I think also, Nick, the culture of the Browns in the last year changed a little bit inside the locker room. And I think Dorsey was also a victim of trades that didn't work. I mean, the Beckham thing, the jury may still be out, but the Zeitler for Vernon trade, not good. And I think Austin Corbett not working out.
That kind of got swept under the rug a little bit.
Yeah,
that was not a good draft pick. No, there's certainly, here's the thing. He was not perfect. But I don't know if those were fireable offenses.
I don't.
You know what I mean?
I don't
they're bad.
Right.
But I mean, a guy like that should get at least.
I thought they'd give him. I thought they would give him a mulligan and say, okay, it didn't work, but we're gonna. We sensed that it didn't work. We're gonna make the change, and they would give him another shot.
Yep.
With
we're on the same page.
With maybe Jimmy Haslam saying, hey, look, I'm gonna be with you, on all these interviews, and we're gonna do them together, and we're gonna get this.
I might have a say, but you're still here.
Right.
Exactly.
And.
You
guys are great.
You're making fun of me?
Yeah, no. Sean says the Browns need to hire Kevin Costner as GM and Dennis Leary as the head coach.
Yeah, draft day. There we go.
That's right. Vontae Mack, no matter what.
That's right. That's right.
But I was surprised that they couldn't, despite how the Freddie Kitchens thing ended, and I understand why John Dorsey would want to keep Freddie because he hired him and he wants to give him an opportunity, but the fact that they couldn't reach an equitable solution going forward and they had to come to this breaking point, that's to me, that's the unfortunate thing.
It's a disaster. And you know who I feel bad for, truly, are Browns fans.
Yeah.
I mean, Browns fans through and through. I remember week 1 against the Titans, what the parking lot looked like behind our building.
Yes.
I mean, it was nuts. There was so much excitement and hype going into the season. And I do feel bad for the fans. And they're the ones that suffer through this. Yeah. And I've always said, as a fan, I know you want to be there, I know you want to support your team, but what's your ROI? What's your return on the investment of everything, all the tickets you purchased and the gear and everything? What have you gotten back from this organization? And unfortunately, that answer is not much.
I can't. I mean, if the Browns have a press conference announcing Kevin Stefanski as the head coach and Andrew Berry as
what I said. That'll be Di Podesta all over it.
You talk about a press conference that's going to be contentious.
Oh yeah.
That'll be it.
And tomorrow.
Or they talk Thursday.
Oh, excuse me, Thursday. Yeah, New Year's Day is everyone's off. Thursday with who I would believe would be Jimmy Haslam, right? Because they don't have anybody hired yet.
No, I mean I would think it would be Jimmy, whether Jimmy by himself or Jimmy and D.
Yeah.
I mean to answer questions and he's got a tough job. He's gonna have to really make people believe that this time they can get it right. After I just mentioned all the names, from Rob Chudzinski and Joe Banner and Mike Lombardi to Mike Pettin and Ray Farmer to Sashi Brown and Hugh Jackson,
all those
to John Dorsey and Hugh Jackson, to John Dorsey and Freddie Kitchens. They're gonna have. I mean, they're gonna have to make people think that this time we're gonna get it right. It's like Lucy and Charlie Brown.
Exactly. What could they possibly say that would make you feel like, hey, you know what, this time I think they got it right? I mean, what could they possibly say? I've always said, when it comes to the Browns lately, show us, don't tell us. And, it's time to start, putting wins in the win column. I've always said in the NFL, you're judged on 2 columns, the win column and the loss column. There's no improvement column. There's no feel-good column. You got to win football games.
Right.
And everybody this year going in was so hyped and so excited. For what? For what now? I mean, they went 6-10. They fired the head coach. The GM is gone. What is going to make us truly believe that next year is different? Until we see it in the win column, I'm not buying it.
I want to close with this. Somebody asked me this last night, and I really had to think about it, and I've still thought about it today. If you had to pin your finger down on the number one reason why we are where we are with the Cleveland Browns on New Year's Eve 2019 compared to where we were early January 2019 after Freddie Kitchens was hired, if there's one thing, where did it go wrong?
I mean, it starts at the top. I think with any organization, with any, whether it's sports, whether it's whatever, it starts at the top and the people you put in position to do well. I think in baseball with the Indians, the Dolan family gets a lot of flack from people, but the thing you have to really give them credit for is they've put people in positions of power that have had a lot of success. Chris Antonetti, Mike Chernoff, Terry Francona. Yep. They've done that.
And they stand back and let their people do their jobs. They may say, hey, look, we can't let you
spend
X more than this, but they
and
let
that's
them
just
do their
baseball
jobs.
in the middle of the lower
it's
market.
It's baseball and economics.
So with the Browns, I feel like they just have not put the right people in place. So you've said to me, where did it go wrong? Where it went wrong is probably hiring Kitchens in the first place. He was probably in over his head to begin with. And now going back now and making more changes. I mean, I think the start of the year and the end of the year are very similar, unfortunately, and we don't know where this team is right now.
Yeah, everything now.
They got a lot of
uncertain.
talent.
Yeah.
But are they that great of a team?
Right.
We don't know.
I mean, here's an example. I was just we were talking about teams that new regimes changing rosters. What if you hire a coach who wants to bring in a 3-4 defense? Where does that leave Myles Garrett? Once
That's a good point.
Comes back. I mean,
I didn't think about that.
We're back to that kind of stuff again.
You are.
Where we're worried about
what if you got a guy
can players fit in the right spots?
I mean, we talk about Josh McDaniels. What do the Patriots do on 80% of their plays? They're passing the football.
Right.
You've got a stable of running backs that are some of the most talented in the NFL. How are you going to incorporate them into the running game? I mean, you're right, the style of play could clash. And then you got a big problem.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Chris says we are cursed.
It feels like that sometimes,
It feels
Chris.
like that sometimes.
It does.
Folks, we understand. We'll keep getting your comments in. Well, I'll try to get in later on and respond to them. But another day. The more things change, the more things stay the same.
Got that right. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Happy
Dino,
New Year, my
always
friend.
fun to be with you.
Appreciate
Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to all of you out there. Nick is back with you tonight on What's Next at 11. You can go right now to WKYC.com, get Jimmy's take, full analysis of everything that's kind of gone on here in the last 48 hours.
You guys have written some good stuff too.
Yeah, we got a ton of good stuff for you out there. So, and we'll keep it coming. We'll keep watching as the story plays itself out. For Nick Camino, I'm Dave DeNatale. Thanks for watching Donovan and Dino right here on 3 News, Facebook Live, and YouTube. All right, clear. Thanks, brother. That was fun.